Okay, buenos dias. This is Jeff preparing my course tour video. First off, if I slip into Spanish, I'm sorry. When I'm usually recording with screencast, I'm doing presentations for my Spanish class, so just bear with me on that. But we'll get started here. This is my homepage. The class is called Spanish 507, Integrating Technology with Language Instruction. So teaching language with technology. This is a course that I've developed. It's been going probably for about 10 years now, and it's gone through different iterations. So this is the most recent one based on what we're doing in this class and other classes in the OTLC program. And I've made quite a few changes and additions. So I'm looking forward to your feedback that I might get. Unfortunately, it's all in Spanish, but I think, for this exercise, but I think you can at least see organization and types of things that are added in the course. And I can give some quick explanations as I go through the different parts of the course. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is navigation for students, how they navigate it, because that's always been a concern of mine with online classes. I'm one that believes that if there are too many links, it is also a problem for students. Sometimes there are those that think that we put links here and there and everywhere, and students can find out where they need to go. But my experience has been personally that if there are too many links, then it might be confusing for them. So I try to go with the minimalist idea when it comes to links. So on my homepage, you'll see there that I don't have an image yet. I'm going to work on getting one. I haven't had one in the past, but I'll decide on something before this goes live again. But there is the course description and then the basic steps to get started with the course right here in the center, and then at the bottom has information on contacting me. There are different ways to do it. This is an all online course. Most of the students are not in Las Cruces or in New Mexico, so all of my contact with them is online. One of the most important links, obviously, from this stage is the link, the first link here that's called La Página de Introducciones, so the Getting Started page. And so I always instruct in an email that I send out an announcement that I post into class for students to start there. So this is my Getting Started module, Getting Started page with course objectives. Then moving through to introduction video. This is a link to the syllabus, which I'll go over in a second. And then I also prepared a video for the textbook that we use in the class, just so that they can see how it's used. For this particular class, it's more like a lab manual with ideas for activities that can be converted to online formats for teaching languages. And then this is a video about a site that I've created that provides them with resources and things to access throughout the class, and especially examples of projects and things that have been done in the past. The next step is to take the course quiz tour, and then the final step is to participate in the first activity, which we'll see in a minute. And then it ends up with the basic expectations for technology in the course so that they can be successful in the course. One of the things as far as navigation is concerned that I always try to help students understand is that if they ever get lost and wonder what to do, the best place to go is the modules section. We'll go there in a second, but also the syllabus. obviously the syllabus is going to do the rules of the game, as it were. I'd like to go there real quick. Maybe not so quick with the computer. Okay, it's working now. I had a little bit of a technical issue with connection, but back to the syllabus. So I used to have a very fancy syllabus with tables and different sections all divided up, again with tables. But as we've discovered, tables in Canvas don't do well for accessibility purposes. And so and this has been one of the challenges for me with at this point in this course, is to convert everything that I had in the tables to just straight line text. And so right now the syllabus doesn't look all that fancy. You'll see there's blanks and spaces and things. All of the information is there, but I need to just go back in and format it. So that's one of the things on my to-do list. But the point I wanted to make here is that it is important for us to remember that when we're making our courses, so that they are accessible for document readers. Okay, continue with navigation. As I mentioned before, I always tell students syllabus, homepage, and whenever in doubt, go to the modules section. And so here are the modules that exist in my course. Currently, and as part of this course, I've changed, updated, and added to the startup module, and I'll go through that in a second. I've also added an activity with it's not a Skype, it's a chat activity using the website Remind. Many of you may be familiar with that. We'll go through that in a minute. And I've also worked on a component for establishing criteria and how to select appropriate websites for use in our language classes. And then I've also started working on something similar for selecting YouTube videos. Okay, so back to the first module. We already saw the getting started page for that module, but one thing that I have revamped as well has been the course quiz, the course tour quiz, as I call it here. I added different question types. It still has some true or false. It has the matching questions here, some multiple answer questions as well. What I added, though, since we've been focusing especially on course objectives, is a section that actually has the course objectives in the quiz, and then they have to select the appropriate verbs that we have been talking about in our development of course objectives and modeling them after the outcomes that we have. I also added an essay question to this one, where they read some of the tips for being successful in online classes, and then they need to share what they've learned from that. Okay, so back to modules. The beginning activity I've also revamped. It's kind of in conjunction with another class that I'm taking now, but it used to be just a straight participation activity where they're asked to share their current status as kind of evaluating where they stand with technology. I always use the pencil metaphor, and this talks about different stages of where they might be found with familiarity with technology, use on a personal level and a professional level. But in this case, I switched it to include a self-evaluation, self-assessment, and this has the steps that they're supposed to do, and then participate in the discussion based on the criteria that I've established there. I did change, and I wanted to show this, added a rubric to this assignment that is much more detailed than I had before, and so this was a challenge for me. I've used the rubric tool in Canvas, but not to a great extent, and so and I have yet to go through the rubric course that they have. Actually doing it in a couple of days here, but I played around with it for this assignment and was able to do some things with it, but that for me was a challenge because I had to start and finish. I had to, the trial and error method was what I used to try and establish what I have for this rubric. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different criteria, and then the ratings obviously you can see there for different points and participation. So that took me a while, but as with everything, it's always a good experience because you learn. So there's an example of what I've changed there. It's always been a popular activity because it gets people thinking of where they're at. And then I also share with them the 7 habits of highly effective teachers who use technology. And it's all to get them jump started into our course. So back to the modules to show a couple of other things that I've changed. With the first component, this is based on what we did here. I've added the learning objectives and then the different steps. The steps have always been there. I never was specific with learning objectives before as far as putting them in a bullet list like we've learned to in this and other classes. I think it's helped to tighten up the course and help students understand better what they're going through. And then I've also included the PowerPoint presentation that we did for this class as part of that to give them an introduction. I plan on doing a recording with that so that they can use that for reference. Okay. The other components are still under construction. I'm working now to make the components on YouTube videos similar to the one on website selection, so that they'll be similar. They're similar already as far as sending students out to read and then come back and comment. One thing that I did add, and it's going to be a new component to this class, is to help them to also learn the different tools in Canvas. And so as we did with one of our assignments, I prepared a sample quiz. This one I just picked for medical Spanish because it seemed like a good thing to do. I added this sample quiz for them so they can see the different question types and how you might use it in language teaching. The one thing I haven't added yet, it would be a sample on using video or audio, which is very easy to do by putting a link into the question that takes them out to a video or audio file or something like that. But here you'll see matching exercises, true and false, fill in the blank, the drop-down menus, so that they can see that there are possibilities with different question types. This one actually has a link to a website that they can go and look for the answers, and then essay questions. So that's what I've got up to now. Back to the home page. It's coming together. I'm pleased with the things that I've been able to add. Obviously, there's a lot still to go, but it's been helpful to learn and see everyone else's as well. So I look forward to your feedback. Thank you. Adios.